Or should we record audio as part of the? What do you want to do?
Your audio, whatever mic you have going into Zoom right now, is what my Zoom account is supposedly recording. So hello, everybody who's getting a secret inside scoop on our very first video. So this is not our official beginning for the podcast. I know, right? Okay. Guys, we're getting ready. We're getting set up. You're seeing a little behind the scenes.
I still have to do my hair.
I was going to say.
This is not going to go on the podcast, but for anybody watching, you can see what shirt I'm wearing. It's powered by fairy dust and Star Trek. It's my Disney.
Oh, so good.
Star
Did
Trek
you put
shirt.
that on just for us?
I did. And also, because I only have so many shirts and I'm just cycling through everything.
I have just decided I have a special uniform.
I already gave them to him.
Oh, he's not on the door.
No, Bonnie. I gave them to his roommate this morning.
This will live on this video forever.
Oh,
yeah,
we will
I
know
gave Bonnie a
the
talking
roommate got him
to.
this morning. That's good.
No. I made keys for some tenants this morning.
And now we have proof that you did.
Now we have proof.
Yeah.
Of me saying I did it.
You saying you did. Yeah. That's what we got proof of. Whoo.
Oof. It never stops.
I actually pulled this one out of the closet. It's been a lot of sweatpants and t-shirts, obviously.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about me.
I am wearing a jumpsuit today.
Ooh, wow. Yeah. Is it all one piece?
It's one piece. That's what it is.
That's so annoying in the bathroom.
Yeah, but it's stretchy. You do have to completely undress. This is the thing.
Oh, I thought you meant stretchy like you can just move some pant legs around and figure it out.
That's a secret for swimsuits.
This is that bonus video content that you paid for.
That's right.
I'm wearing what I call the standard Jake uniform at home, which is just athletic shorts.
Ooh, showing some leg.
The shorts.
That's it.
I saw everything. It's too late. Have you seen the background? What was it called? The extras. It's a British show. It's amazing.
Yes.
And Patrick Stewart is in one.
Imagine them.
It's too late.
Their clothes come up. I've seen them. I've seen it all.
I've seen everything.
Oh, so good. All right.
Anyway.
Oh, this guy. Wait. Cyrus Redblock was the only background actor I liked. Never mind. I won't talk about the episode. Should we hit record on the audio?
We should hit record on the audio. Are you ready? Are you absolutely ready to record and do the clap thing? Which, by the way, we're going to do the clap on 3 this time, Becca, or the snap.
Hold on. I got to zoom out.
Okay, great. I knew there was something.
I'm just going to let the...
Checking my waveform. Oh, something's gone real wrong here. Hold on.
This is this is why we do this.
No.
This is all the sweet content that people are going to ask for right here.
This is it. This is what they want to see.
I've grown.
They were surveyed. They said, can we see you just like troubleshooting more? We don't get enough of that on your Twitch stream.
I want to know more about tenants and keys and whose roommates got them, really.
Oh, God, no. I can't. Legally, I can't.
111. Becca. The big goodbye.
And Xander, what's your address?
0 underscores here.
Is it 112?
111, go fuck yourself, Streeter Avenue.
Yeah, not to check you, but it's actually 112.
I am recording.
Wait, is it? I thought it's 111.
Big goodbye.
Yeah,
is 112.
If you're looking on
Okay.
Wikipedia, it is interestingly mislabeled. Is that what you're looking at?
No.
Oh.
I can tell you a lot of things. There's the production number, which is 113. It was aired as number 12 if you're looking at Memory Alpha or Netflix.
But it was shot out of
Memory
order
Alpha.
too, right?
But on Netflix, it is listed as episode 11, so that's what we're calling it. So we don't get confused. I just decided it's the Netflix numbering system. Done.
Wait, we shouldn't do the Netflix numbering system because not everybody watches it on Netflix.
That's too bad for them. The Naked Now is episode 2, and that's where we went from.
Oh, okay. So this is 11?
So this
111.
is 11, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 11. That's fine with me. Because that's it's our episode 11.
Right.
Yes.
That's what we're considering.
Well, okay, yeah, that's how I numbered it.
I don't care what Star
episodes.
Trek's number it is because we're just going to list it by the Star Trek's title, episode title. Great. I'm ready to record audio. Are you all ready to record audio?
Yes.
I'm already recording.
Recording audio as well. Let's snap our fingers on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great.
That was so good.
And
that probably means it was off because there's a lag.
Yes, but again, we'll just do that in post.
And this is where Jake does a cold open.
The coldest of opens, which, by the way, I noticed I haven't been putting on the outline intentionally. I don't want you guys to know.
We don't want to know your jokes or your questions, your great questions. But we probably should introduce ourselves.
Why? People have listened to this, though, right?
How are we going to get new people if they are only people that know us?
Okay. I'll introduce you.
That's how the sausage gets made.
All right, that's fine. So Becca Scott, co-host of
No, okay, never mind. Scratch. Never mind. We'll just casually introduce each other by saying our names as we address each other with your random questions at the beginning. How about that?
Just first name.
Organic name mentions. There we go.
All right. So I have a question for you, Becca. If you were on a starship and you didn't have to be a science engineering command officer of any sort, you could be something different, such as a fiction expert like Lieutenant Whalen. What kind of expert would you be?
A dramaturge. Thank you very much. I would study plays from the past. It is a real job, Jake. Do not insult people. Am I right, Xander?
That's a real job. That's no one's insulting anyone.
He was the ship historian, not ship fiction reader, Jake. It just was in his realm of knowledge.
He was introduced as the fiction expert, as I recall. And I did look it up.
You can be a fiction expert, I think. Just by your colleagues. They're like, oh, that's the fiction guy.
Yeah, but if that's what he's known as, the ship, I mean, we're taking a galactic starship out to the far reaches of space. We need to have somebody who's good with bestsellers.
Well, you know, Sherlock has already come into play quite a bit. What if Data had gone off the rails in that previous episode? They would have been like, who has the key to help fix our android? We've got to call in our fiction expert.
And that's where we get Dixon Hill. This is the big goodbye. This is Captain Picard. Captain Picard and some of the Enterprise crew get stuck on the holodeck while on their way to an important diplomatic mission. Wait,
you mean the Peabody Award-winning episode, The Big Goodbye?
I do. This is one of the more acclaimed episodes, as a matter of fact. For those of you who don't know what the Peabody Awards are, it's like excellence in, I think it's film and radio and TV, I believe. Broadcast, yeah, in general. It probably includes internet, but I'm not sure anymore.
I took the liberty of seeing what else had won a Peabody Award in 1987. There were many things. Most of them are specific news broadcasts, like, let's see, CNN coverage of the 1987 stock market crash, and HBO won something for America Undercover, Drunk and Deadly, AIDS and You. Oh gosh, that's a heavy one.
Yeah,
they're
it tends
all
to be
pretty heavy
thing, right?
Well, NBC won one for LA Law. HBO won one for Mandela. I assume Nelson Mandela biopic type of thing. Didn't look that up. I can only have one Google search outside of a show per episode. Gotcha. And then at the bottom, Star Trek Next Gen for the episode The Big Goodbye. And it just looks a little out of place in all these documentary style things. And then but this was so good.
I think they liked it specifically for the attention to detail. I actually have a quote from the Peabody board about it. They said, quote, rather than give in to the usual realities of a first run and produced a low budget but profitable program, the producers chose instead to opt for the highest quality in writing, decor, acting, and indeed all facets of production. In doing so, they have set a new standard of quality for first run syndication, and this is exemplified in the episode The Big Goodbye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very complimentary of the TNG crew.
Nice. You're welcome, Gene Roddenberry. Finally, recognition.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Gene Roddenberry because I think one of the criticisms that would come up if anybody has seen original series is that it's very similar to another episode of the original series where they go to an entire planet that is like 1920s gangster New York. And it's a little bit like, what? Why? I mean, the similarities are just the three-piece suits, but, it's that similar vibe of like taking an old-timey American story and throwing these characters into it. But they did it the right way, I think, in the Holodeck episode. And it provides the trope of the Holodeck going wrong and the crew having to do something in story to fix it.
Yes! I love detective stories, especially when they're mashed up with other genres. Of course, this being sci-fi, but my favorite into the series of all time is the Dresden Files, which is a film noir fantasy mashup.
I didn't know
I don't know
that.
if you guys
I love the
knew
Dresden
this.
Files.
Do I ever mention it? I probably haven't mentioned it. That's probably, you didn't know.
It's very good. I was a big fan.
What do you love about the Dresden Files that's like this? Just the fact that the mashes genres, you mean?
I just I love a detective story. I think maybe it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit as a kid, Jessica Rabbit I loved, or when I was in college, my favorite clown teacher did a one-woman show that was a film noir show where she played a bunch of different masks and had recorded all the audio ahead of time. It was incredible. So I just have this special place in my heart for anything that's detective film noir. Oh, and of course, saw The Big Sleep as a kid.
Real off topic, real quick. Who was your clowning teacher?
Fuck is her name?
She played a detective, right? In the clowning bit.
Yeah, she played every part. Stephanie.
It wasn't Deanna.
No.
Okay, great, cool, Stephanie. We'll make sure to edit that.
Roberts.
Did we have like a clown teacher crossover?
We actually might have, but I think a lot of people do clown detectives, maybe.
Look, clown detectives are real popular. Stephanie Roberts, associate professor of physical theater at UMKC.
Okay.
Wow, shout out.
Let's transition back to the show.
Okay, it's pretty important stuff, though.
Yeah,
detective stuff is great. We kind of get a little bit of a taste of it when Picard goes to the holodeck after getting stressed out about his linguistic responsibilities for this diplomatic meeting. The double line means the T is pronounced as a Z. Like, he has to learn so much intricacies for this. I'm wondering why they just didn't get a translator to do it instead of the ship's captain, right?
Well, especially because there used to be a whole department for communications. It was Lieutenant Uhura's station, Hoshi's station, but with the translator kind of brought in, communications has gone to security. Or there's still a con and a communications, but no, it was an interesting way of doing this because we're seeing the A plot, B plot come in again, where we've got this sort of A plot of the overall mission of the starship, but then the B plot of Picard playing on the holodeck,
I think that's
inverse,
of course,
though, right? Counselor Deanna Troi knew the language and was teaching it, so she has experience or had learned it in order to prepare him. And I so relate to having this work you need to do that is tedious and just wanting to go play on the holodeck. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, he does, and we get that first noir taste when he goes to the holodeck, and we actually get a mid-scene captain's log, which I felt was like a little out of place, but you realize that's actually kind of a noir touch to have a little bit of that narration as he walks into a new environment.
Good point. Well, I couldn't understand why he was so familiar with the storyline, but didn't understand it. And then it recapped in the captain's log that he had read the books as a kid, so he understood the storyline, but he had never been in this holodeck before, obviously. I just kind of like, there was something missing there of like why he was out of place, even though he requested this thing. And then it made sense because of the captain log sort of just tweaking that.
Yeah, and I think this is going to show that the holodeck has been upgraded so that maybe the programs that they had been using before were more like environments. It hasn't been this sophisticated of like a full storyline. And so that's where the sort of amazement comes through of like the detail of this game and the programming. I think they're still trying to find their footing on like what these future people would consider weird, like automobiles, when they full on have cars and things that they will use on planet. So they do beam a lot.
Automobiles?
Yeah. They're still trying to figure out.
Tries that word on for size.
Yeah.
I like the AI's understanding of everybody's costumes too. Like when Picard walks in after that graduate style shot around her legs.
Oh my God! It is the graduate,
says, right? It is totally homage to that. If you pair those frames up, I guarantee. But she says, "Oh, what's with the bellboy's uniform?" Right?
Yeah.
I love the justification of them not understanding what they see. Also, Data being from "quote unquote" South America.
Well, I like that sort of thing that because these are less sophisticated sort of robotic personalities, they have to interpret what they see into certain categories. And so like, a foreign person, not from here, I react to them a certain way. I must make this fit within my worldview in a way that we all do. But when you are a programmed character, you have less leeway. So I like that detail.
This was a good first attempt at that, and they kind of refined it later on in that the people that are playing the holodeck games dress up because it's fun for them to be more immersed rather than the programs requiring you to be wearing the costumes, because a lot of alien races are going to be on the holodeck that would come across as not from South America. Like, it was stretched for Data, and so they kind of go away from that in that the holodeck characters are programmed, and they'll just kind of go with the flow no matter what, but it's more fun if you dress up and go participate. Kind of like LARPing.
I'm seeing a lot of parallels to Westworld because I've been watching it, and I'm wondering where's the Lee Sizemore? Because this is a very written story, and so who wrote this? Did this just organically happen because someone just, scanned a book into the holodeck, and the holodeck made it all up on its own, in which case that is a very sophisticated AI, and I think the holodeck could have its own consciousness in one episode that...
That's getting on to something.
I should be a writer for this show. I'm going to go back in time. Also, I really need to call out something very important to me, that when he first leaves the holodeck and he's wearing the wrong costume and his bellboy look, he says, "You'll have to call again. I'm not dressed properly."
Yes.
This was sampled in a song.
Yes.
That was one of the first songs I ever downloaded on Napster or something. Not that I ever did that illegal activity.
Jean Picard of the USS Enterprise.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Yep. I got down to that song. And
wasn't that on a website? What was it called? You're the Man Now, Dog?
Yeah. YTMND.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you don't? Because that's the quote from Finding Forrester of Sean Connery saying, "You're the man now, dog."
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
Yeah. There are a few good Picard quotes that are going to be coming up in these couple of episodes.
Well, you mentioned his translation at the end. I kind of wanted to record that.
And memorize it?
Yeah.
We expect this for next episode.
So Picard gets in, he figures out, okay, the holodeck's fun. He leaves after taking the case from this woman, and he's got this lipstick smudge, and he just excitedly tells all of the crew about his adventure in the holodeck.
This is one where you can come in your little Trekker glasses and you're like, actually that lipstick should have dissolved because it was a manifestation of holograms, but whatever.
Yeah, and which we'll see later in the episode. They don't really know at what point a hologram should start dissolving. Is it when it steps in a hallway, as I assumed it would be, or slowly, shortly thereafter, after the characters sort of walk down the hallway a little bit?
Yeah, that seems right.
They wanted to show off that effect, I think.
Right. Maybe so.
Well,
One more thing I wanted to say about automobiles, since you mentioned it. I thought it was interesting that the writers at this point in time didn't mention any sort of negativity that we associate with cars now. They said, teenage mating rituals used for transportation. The smells. But they didn't say, I mean, I'm sure pollution was evident. Pollution was a thing people knew about in 87 because... Nixon had already passed the Clean Air Act, I imagine, by 87. Reagan was president then, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but it goes to show you that the problems of the planet are so far behind this civilization that now is just charmed by the idea of a car for some reason.
Maybe, or they were so ahead of the civilization that wrote this episode because writing it today, it would have been like a major contributor to climate change.
Their unfamiliarity with it, though, is just kind of strange, though, because it'd be like you excitedly telling us a story about a play you saw, and then you're like, and they wrote in on horses.
That's a really good point. What a great analogy. What? Horses? Data, explain.
So Picard decides to go back in. He recruits Crusher. Data shows up on his own, and he also has this.
He doesn't recruit. He invites.
Yes.
Right.
It's for fun, damn it.
I feel like she's definitely signing up to be on a crew, though, don't you? Even though it is definitely there's a romantic element to it.
Yeah, I think that this we get to see sort of this playful element of Beverly of like she's all work all the time. Like everyone's treating her like a doctor, and she's like, I want to play too. Like I want to get interrogated.
And that's so exemplified when she comes into the police station and she's looking at the other woman there and
she sits next to her. Yeah, I love that whole.
Is that Gates McFadden is so well coiffed already, or like looks beautiful already. And she already has a ton of makeup on, and she's like, oh I don't know what
Women in this time wear makeup, but she doesn't apply it with a powder sponge. She applies it with a scanner that replicates your makeup look onto your face every morning. You push the button on the mirror.
That's fair.
My favorite bit is like the hiking the skirt up and then seeing who that woman actually is and then slowly pulling her stuff back together.
Ooh, I want to look like this. Wait a minute.
Oh, no, I don't.
No, I don't.
That's anyone playing a video game. You're like, I want to be, that's the villain. Yeah, okay, never mind.
So we spend a little time in 19 whatever year this is, 37 or something like that, because I guess Hitler was on the move, so it was probably like late 30s. There was that bit with Data mentions the baseball statistics.
Right.
Something we got to keep track of is when the London Kings join the MLB, right?
Well, actually, the London Kings is a little bit of trivia that will show up way, way, way later in your Trek journey, especially the person who beats Joe DiMaggio's record.
So on Memory Alpha, DiMaggio reached that number, making this date the 25th of June, 1941. Which an interesting tidbit, when he left the holodeck, it was kind of like, I'll take the case. And you think that time won't pass because he only spent a quick minute in there. You think, time must freeze when he leaves. And then he comes back and she's dead. Yeah. And game goes on without you, I guess.
Yeah, it's like Animal Crossing.
Don't get me started.
I feel that was a genuine oversight because he even made a point to save it when he left where he was, didn't he?
Well, I think that one of the things that they were trying to show was one of the things he says at the end of like, when you leave, will my wife and kids still be there? Because this is one of the few times that the holograms actually recognize that they're holograms. And I think that was to show that there is a passage of time and things are going on even when someone is not on the holodeck, at least in some capacity.
Wow.
I thought this was really ominous and really this sort of thing of like, every time you initiate a new holodeck program, you are destroying millions of holodeck lives over
Later
and over.
On, there's a whole discussion because just as much as Data is becoming a quest to become human, later on they introduce holographic characters, and that is a question of where is their sapience?
Interesting. Right. Yeah, I wrote down. It's funny that
sentience. I like
sentience.
Sapience.
Sapience is
humanity. Sapience. That might be a word.
Yeah.
I wrote down that this is like a sad Westworld, and Westworld already is pretty sad. Like,
no, it's an absolute tragedy.
I was a little torn about those holograms, just kind of realizing they weren't real.
Right.
But yeah, so we find out that we get stuck. I'm not sure exactly. Did they explained it very quickly? But when the what are the alien race, the Yaharans? What are they called? The Yarada. When they said hi with their hello hug, they like shook the ship real bad. And then the holodeck stopped working correctly? Is that essentially what?
Right. You're going to find with all of these holodeck goes wrong episodes, there's going to be some sort of power surge or nebula or malfunction or some sort of alien influence that's going to make it happen.
All those things would make sense. This was basically a routine, like they're scanning our ship. But it just rocked just this one area.
Which totally doesn't match with the inertial dampeners, but whatever, I won't go there.
Inertial dampeners, good techno babble.
Yeah.
Those ones used frequently. Keep an ear out for them.
Mm-hmm.
But inside the holodeck, Picard is taken downtown, and we learn because his business card was in the murdered woman's jacket. That's enough to bring a guy in.
Obviously.
Hey, why not? It's any lead's a lead.
I like that Picard loves these stories, but these stories are pretty flimsy. His interrogation is pretty much, tell me again. That's the tactic.
I just need one person in a tavern to tell me to do something, and that's a call to adventure. So I can't fault him for just trying to have some fun.
Yeah, there's no questions here. Also, Beverly Crusher questions why nobody else gets to have any fun and get to be on ice, as it were. Also, when she trips because she doesn't know how to walk in heels.
Yeah.
Love it. Perfect. Great physical comedy. And then when she eats the piece of gum that the guard gives her, I was dying.
Yeah. Well, he also asked her to the dance at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Audible.
Right. Very good.
God. A lot is problematic about the things that guard said to her, should be pointed out. But guess what? It's 41. So we let that slide in mixed company.
I thought the detective that was interrogating Picard was kind of like a lower budget George C. Scott. Anybody feel that way?
Interesting. Yeah, I get whenever we run into these actors that get to play the holodeck characters, it's always a good time, and you can kind of spot some of them in between. Like there's some that are reoccurring that they kind of call in, but yeah, I think it's always a great time to see some other people kind of bring in this acting energy, and you can tell, especially going off of someone like Gates or Sir Patrick Stewart, it's just going to heighten everyone's performances, and I think that really is what's so charming about something like this.
Yeah, for sure. So we find out that everybody's locked in. The crew figures out too, and Wesley volunteers to come on down and help out. Riker says, "No way, Jose." But Troy makes the good point that his mother is missing too. Although, I mean, it's not like they're missing. They're trapped in the pleasure closet, right?
Yeah, it's the flimsiest excuses to get Wesley involved in the plot every time.
And then he looks in these little microscope lenses that are inside the wall of the ship. That felt like a new prop.
Yeah, they just needed some sort of way for them to interact with a holodeck that wasn't a computer screen, I guess.
I love those little touches.
Yeah.
Well, we finally understand why Waylon's in this episode. He is our red shirt because he gets shot by Leech, right?
We should have known. Every time we meet a new lieutenant or new officer, it's because they need to shoot somebody.
Yeah. Makes total sense. So Leech is looking for an item. Do we ever learn what the item is?
Item. The capital I item.
Yeah.
It's like the MacGuffin of the game.
It is the MacGuffin. It's the item.
They were going to write that in the script later. They just wrote item for now. And then they were like, oops. Did we go into production having never replaced item with, a crystal of destiny or whatever?
I wonder if the point is that it doesn't matter. They're pointing out that it's a MacGuffin the whole time in the story. This is all kind of based on the Maltese Falcon, right? So it's all kind of after the object kind of thing. And the story around the object's more interesting.
The name is an amalgamation of two Raymond Chandler books, The Big Sleep and The Long Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. It does sound just like a noir novel title, The Big Goodbye.
I mean, Raymond Chandler really made noir happen.
I loved how fun this was. There's like the thing about it is that Picard isn't really, he is having fun, but he's not doing fun things. He's just enjoying stumbling through this narrative. Like they don't really have too much of an adventure so much as they just go from scene to scene, right?
There's one point at which he tries to take control and he realizes that there's some sort of safety protocol that's off, which they don't really explain that or say that it's happened. But I know that this is something that just from vague memories that we probably come in contact with again, like, safety protocols are off. People can die now. But he sort of takes control to say, we are from another world as like okay, here's the plan. We'll tell them that we can get them something from the future, basically. And then, of course, it doesn't work out. But he does come with his air of captainness to sort of like go for a goal.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect point to bring up because he does switch. We see that both in Picard and in Crusher. As soon as someone's actually hurt, she switches immediately into doctor mode. And I think that's because she is a doctor, but I think that's a great character delineation. And then Picard has it as well in that he switches to his negotiation tactics as a captain. He's like, this is just like any other scenario that I could get through. Honesty's the best policy. Let's just try to reason with everybody and try to make it happen.
I loved Crusher's immediate diagnosis of there's massive internal bleeding. He took a bullet to the gut.
Also, she does not know how to tend to a bullet wound. Like, she can handle phaser wound, but she needs all of her instruments. Like, she can point a Healy phaser at the boo-boo made by a bad punchy phaser. Like an actual gunshot wound, she's lost. Let me tap my tissues on here. You have to put pressure on that wound, Crusher. We all know this.
But again, she comes from a society that doesn't use these ballistic weapons that don't make any sense. Why would they use phasers?
There's literally just like some tissues from her handbag sitting on top of the wound as she's turning around like, we've got to get him to my med bay quick.
They're using what they call firearms.
I mean, there's a lot of things about this episode that it's like, I know it won the Peabody Award, but it's still so silly. It's getting closer. Some episodes are closer to not being a whiff. This one is pretty good, but there's still elements that leave something to be desired. Like, I wish that there was an actual mystery for us to figure out in the noir world that had more draw there. But, you know, doing its best.
I think it's because they leaned into it. Like, they definitely went for it and went as much as they could for a first season TV show, which is mentioned in that Peabody quote. And so I think them going for it and actually having a hologram consider its own existence and then disappear at the end of the episode, that's like a Twilight Zone level like concept script. So like, I think they appreciated that boldness, even although I agree there was no real plot inside of there. There was just a lot of tropes. It was just Trope City. And that was still fun to play with.
Yeah. Will Wheaton, I saw a comment that he thought that The Big Goodbye, because they'd actually filmed Data Lore before this, which is the next episode for us. But there was something with production that they were reversed in a different order. So they'd already filmed 12 episodes, but this one felt like the one where people actually were enjoying themselves and relaxed in a new way, so that they were self-conscious. And you can actually tell, of course, not Wesley, but he's supposed to be nervous.
It was funny. Like, Data's little bit with the lamp, I was very clown-like, and I kind of enjoyed where he didn't notice that it got unplugged and then it came back on. I also liked that.
How did Picard know where to plug it back in, though, or how a plug works?
Electricity?
Yeah, right. No, it was good. Some good like prop comedy, but so they filmed this after Data Lore, then.
Yes.
So that's interesting because you can see Brent Spiner sort of opening up in that he downloads a gangster program and sort of incorporates that into his performance, which we've seen that with like Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. But I think he's really taking these risks. And I think you'll find in the next episode with Data Lore that kind of agency comes and is earned through his performance.
What do you mean, boss? Eh?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that stuck out to me about the writing of this episode was Riker's actions, namely that we are dealing with this society that is very specific about how they are first introduced. In fact, he even mentions that there was a 20-year delay on talking to these guys because someone didn't get the protocol right. And what does he do at the first opportunity? He opens hailing frequency.
Right. Bad move.
Listen. I was like, that's
the Errata. We haven't talked about them much at all.
Right. Because isn't the rumor that they didn't have the budget to do another Alien?
That's right. And they mention, they have an insect mind. So they were supposed to be sort of insectoid creatures that I think the writer really wanted to have in there. But budget.
But we don't really, they are, I mean, their effect on this whole episode is pretty much a time crunch, right? For the holodeck. They're not even an A plot.
They're the stakes.
B-plot. Yeah, they're the stakes, exactly. So that I just found it really interesting that Riker just went ahead and went for talking to them. And that seemed to have no effect.
Well, Picard spent all this time memorizing this complicated thing to say that can't be messed up or it'll jeopardize everyone's lives. I'll just say what's up.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it did throw me off when watching this episode again. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's not necessarily Riker's fault, but the Harada call them, but then Riker still picks up the phone.
Right.
You can't.
So then it's like, what is the bigger offense? Is it ignoring it and letting it go on red, or answering it?
You just hit the button that says, can't talk right now, call you later.
But is that an offense?
They have the preset. It's a preset.
Be offensive if it's preset.
Yeah.
Well, after that, we meet Cyrus Redblock, who's kind of the biggest presence in the room, I think. The actor, I can't remember his name, but he also plays Elaine's dad in Seinfeld around this time. He's like just known for being an intimidating dude. Let me look it up real quick.
I got him. Let's see. Cyrus Redblock.
Lawrence Tierney.
There it is. Wow, they put it right at the bottom. Lawrence Tierney. I thought he was an incredible actor. Yeah, he really like some of the goons was a little phoned in. Yeah, and then he steps up and he has such epic lines. He's killing on a quest for knowledge. He said one of the first things he said was really fantastic. Let's see if I can find it here. Life is an endless stream of choices. Unfortunately, you have chosen to make my life more difficult.
So good.
Classic.
So good.
And well delivered. It didn't feel like a cliche, even though these are phony lines. I was a little bit, intimidated by him.
Yeah. I thought the whole scene was very well done by everybody,
And I think that when you're playing a villain like this, it's so important to make it relatable and to make us like that person, because everybody wants to be liked, quote unquote, villain or no. Hey, this is what I do, I just got to kill people, but not because I'm not a nice guy. I like politeness. And the lines were there, but it's important to play it with like something that's relatable to people.
I simultaneously loved and hated Leech's little holding of his gun like this, where his little arms are right up against his chest.
The bats, let me hurt the woman.
Right.
And when he's gonna shoot Crusher, he's like 8 inches from her face, which he's pointing a gun at. Like, he's gonna get brains everywhere on him. That's crazy to hold it like that.
I have a real thing in anything where, well, if you're going to shoot her, what's stopping you then? Just do it. Like,
right.
Because we need the cliffhanger and play the music, and then we'll come back and talk him out of it. It's like, Picard probably would have jumped to stop that sooner. So this is just a trope of all TV and television.
One of the best rules of an improv group that I used to work with was that if a gun was ever pulled out in a scene, whoever the gun was pointed at should instantly die before the person holding the gun knew what was happening.
That's a good rule.
That's my favorite rule.
That's amazing. That consequence.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, the holograms make it out, and they have a whole new world to plunder, but then they disappear.
Oh, man, I thought they were going to just terrorize the ship, but guess what? They don't exist anymore.
Right. This
Slowly
is what I was going to bring up, is that another trope that we can kind of keep a lookout for is the cool hologram that kind of gets it. We see that this kind of a lot of, like, there's a hologram program that's a cool hologram program that just kind of gets it. And we see that here with this gangster who's like, all right, there's another world full of riches. I'll see. I'll go and investigate this for myself. So many other of the programs would just default back into their, what are you talking about type of thing.
I don't see it.
Right.
Or do they not see the exit as they're programmed to do? But
there it is.
That hasn't happened yet either.
Yeah.
Well, that was the big goodbye. I liked this episode. I think we already kind of summarized our feelings on it for the most part. I thought that I don't really like the hologram episodes for the most part. If I'm watching Star Trek, I want to watch Star Trek, but this one still was fun enough to be silly, and I was along for the ride at this time.
I think holodeck episodes are great for binge watching, because if you're sitting through a bunch of Star Trek, they're nice refreshers just to remind you how great these actors are.
Yeah. It breaks it up a lot.
Yeah, and at any time Data does an accent, I'm down. A couple things we didn't talk about much. Beverly Crusher and Picard, their budding relationship, which I have a feeling is not going to go anywhere. But they're really trying to make it happen at this point in the season. So that's interesting. And then the relationship with the cop that Picard has at the very end. I didn't realize that was a cop until I realized that was the nice cop that was bringing by the booze at the end.
Right.
It felt very underdeveloped. And then at the very last scene, it was like, we're old friends and I'm going to miss you.
I wonder if they're trying to set up a Dixon Hill alternate universe that they can return to multiple times and have recurring characters with. I'm not sure. I mean, I know I think they do more Dixon Hill stuff in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, and I think that's a great point, but also I think they wanted to get a lot of that noir lighting in, and no matter what you say, it's always going to look dramatic if you've got lights pouring in from blinds, you know?
Oh man, I got to work on my blind situation so I can get more of that going right here. I just want to call out the line I really enjoyed was, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to die there.
Mm-hmm.
See what you did there, Picard.
Mm-hmm. Also, like now that we're so familiar with this trope, the lack of urgency that Picard has once the program has like resolved, I'm like, okay, take the coat off and go. Like you gotta like adjust your tie and go, dude. Yeah. He was just casually like taking off his coat, addressing the end of the game, like walking over, going on the bridge, and like, go ahead, here we go.
Yeah, I want to make sure this hologram understands what's going to happen to him more than I want to save Waylon's life.
Yeah.
Or the entire ships for that matter, if these wasp people are no good.
They'll find it. They'll find it.
They eventually do. And we are going to go on to our next episode next week, which is, as we've mentioned before, Data Lore. The Enterprise explores Data's home planet, Omicron Theta. They find his brother and the dark secret he carries.
Oh, I'm so glad. I love any data-centric episode.
Oh, buckle up.
Well, yeah, you get double it this time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Well, if you guys liked this episode as much as we did, you should like and subscribe. Becca, have you subscribed to Poldy Watch?
I have subscribed. In fact, I'm the one that posts it.
Oh, great. Xander, have you subscribed to Poldy Watch?
I have. It's on my Apple Podcasts app. How about you, Jake?
Mine's on Overcast, which
I use Stitcher.
Okay, so it's on many platforms.
I guess it's on all of them. Who did that?
Podbean.com.
And if you want to see some fun sort of behind the scenes stuff, you can check out the video version of this on the YouTube channel.
Don't tell them about that. It's a secret.
Oh. But we want them to go see it.
No, we don't.
Oh, don't go. Definitely don't.
Oh, yeah, it's an exclusive thing. Only the coolest can see. So
not
for everyone.
You need the clearance.
Additionally, one great way you can support our show is by telling your friends about it and even rating and reviewing us on iTunes, where everybody gets their recommendations, apparently. Also, we have a Patreon, so check out the link to the description in our podcast feed, as well as a Discord if you want to join the conversation. Fun
fact about Patreon is we're releasing the episode one day early just for our patrons.
And we have a lot of bonus episode content that we're going to be releasing later this year. That's all for this week. I think Picard said it best in this episode, especially.
Step on
Engaged.
it.
Got you good. All right.